time. It's your favorite nephew, your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite father, your favorite son, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to Living For You, the YouTube channel. This is a safe space. It is a positive place out here on these internet streets for us to come together and be entertained and educated and enlightened and encouraged. And we work together on this very same journey that we all are on, and that's this journey called life. This is one of the best places you can be out here on these internet streets, as I have said. To my loyal, faithful family, I love you. You have committed to following me. You have committed to being with me. You have committed to enjoying and engaging this with me for a long time. So I appreciate all of you. I love you with the highest love that one can possibly give another person. To those of you who watch the videos, who haven't currently subscribed, you might as well subscribe. You're enjoying the videos, you're enjoying the commentary, you're enjoying the stuff, you're sharing the stuff, you're liking the videos, you're doing a whole lot of stuff. So why not just join the channel and become fam? So that the love that I have for my family extends to you. It will anyway. However, it's a greater, more appreciative spirit, and I hold place and well wishes for my family members, because I want thriving. I want this channel to be a catalyst of thriving in many areas of one's life who have committed to be part of my family. So subscribe to the channel. And to those of you who've never seen me before, this is your first time seeing my face. I am Dr. Larry Smith. I'm a certified life and spiritual coach. I own a business called Live For You Coaching, where I help people overcome trauma. If you want to know more about that business, you can go to www.liveforyoucoaching.com. That is www.liveforyoucoaching.com. That is my website for the business. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can learn a lot about me. Just follow me, because I post every day, from educational content, history content, educational, entertainment, engagement, encouragement, wisdom, affirmations, all kinds of things I post. And you can follow me out there on social media at Dr. Larry Smith on both Instagram and Facebook. That is Dr. Larry Smith on both Facebook and Instagram. Welcome, family. I wanted to, obviously we're in Black History Month, and Black History Month is one of my favorite months and favorite times of year, because so many important things in my life revolve around February and the spring. It's the introduction of the spring, and spring is my favorite season. My birthday's in spring in May, and it's just, for me, it's a fabulous time. So of course I wanted to get on here and talk about Black history, because for most of you, if you do not know me, if you go out to my social media, if you talk to me in person, if you hold any lengthy conversation about any important issues, you realize one thing, that I am very pro-Black. What does that mean? That does not mean that I am anti everything else. It just means that I believe also in the promotion of people who look like me, who have a shared experience of me, a shared history, and who have to overcome the same things that I have. So that I have to overcome. So for me, I have a pro my community mentality. When you look at my businesses, when you look at the work I do as far as coaching, when you look at the things I learned in order to teach others, and even if you walk into a classroom of mine and you're being instructed by me, you will gather that I find those things, community building, community enriching, community education, and all of these things I find to be very important. So Black History Month is very important to me. Black history is super important to me. I grew up in an environment in which I was surrounded by people like myself, African American people, so it was never amiss for me to learn about my history, whether it be sitting at the feet of my father's uncles, grandfather, the men in my tribe, and have them discuss Black history and talk about the great accomplishments of Black people. That was actually one of the healthy, positive aspects of my childhood, in that while the men around were broken and they needed healing, and they were doing their best with what they have, as we all do, they were very much aware of the importance of knowing one's history. And so countless stories and countless arguments and discussions of Black history and American history as it relates to who we were as a people. And it was super important that the men mirrored that. Now, what I've noticed just as a Black male and growing up in that type of environment, the men worked almost as the guardians of the information. So I learned about Garrett Morgan, I learned about W.E.B. Du Bois, and I learned about, Booker T. Washington and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all of these great fabulous things, Rosa Parks and Ida B. Wells, and I learned about all of these people and so much more from the men. They were kind of like the historians. But from the women, I learned my Black family's history. I learned about how my great-grandparents did things, or how my great-grandmother or my grandparents were when they were kids. And so the women took the bearer of spreading the family and my own personal Black history to me. So it was never amiss that it was important for me to understand the history of African Americans, my own history, and the history of people of African descent all over the African diaspora all over the world. And so when I went to college, naturally I geared towards history and culture, ethnic studies, and all of these other different topics, where I learned quite a great deal about African American history and African diasporic history. I learned a great deal because I was so interested in it, in the knowledge that was fed to me as a child growing up. I just furthered that knowledge when I went to college. And it fascinated me to learn so many things, to learn about Nat Turner, to learn about the Stoner Rebellion in the 1830s, to learn about the Haitian Revolution, to learn about, all of these different people and understand the nuances in the larger story. Because Black history, in my opinion, it is U.S. history, but it is also history that fills in the gaps that a U.S. history course alone might not offer. So there are so many things to appreciate about Black history. Unfortunately, we get 1 month, and it's the shortest month of the year, but I don't care about that. If you go out to my social media, you'll see that I try to maximize every day, and I talk about 2 and 3 different things in one day, because I think it's so rich, and it's so inspiring. There is no other people in this country who can say their origins were slaves. And from those origins, we produced artists and music and politicians and athletes and entrepreneurs and wise thinkers and educators and just all kinds of people from a people whose origins were of slaves. To me, it's a great coming of age story. It is the ideal story of starting from nothing, started from the bottom, now we're here. And in my thoughts, we started from the bottom, now we're here, and we still got more room to grow and to go. And so I'm so super excited when I see advancements in the African American community, when I know the history and the hardships and the trials, but the hard work and the hard abilities and the intelligence and innovation and ingenuity of these people to overcome where they started, to create more. And in my humble opinion, I believe no other group has influenced American culture stronger than African American people. You can look at the language, you can look at the music, you can look at other forms of art, the popular forms of art, as well as the non-popular forms of art, the food cuisine, the way cities are playing, even on the not so great influences, how it influenced what American freedom was to have slavery, or when it influenced what civil rights was when Black people began to fight after World War II for equal rights. That opened the doors for so many people. So that, coupled with all of the other things, in my opinion, makes it my opinion that African Americans are the most influential people on United States and American history in general. And so it is an honor, I would believe, for anybody to learn about this fantastic history, to learn about this fantastic pedigree. Even before the slave experience, Africa was rich of resources, gold and cattle and grains and all kinds of crops. They were actually trading with the rest of the known trading world in the old world. So Africa was very connected, and us African Americans who've come from Western Africa, we share in that tradition. Yes, the intermediate of about 400 years of slavery was there, but even in that time, which I call the African American Dark Age, there was ingenuity, there was creation, we were being used while as slaves to cultivate and create mega nations, powerful nations, England, France, Spain, the United States, Mexico, the list goes on and on, Colombia. We were being used to create the Western world. So if it had not been for African American influence, ingenuity, and labor, the Western world would not be what it is today. So really celebrating African American achievement and African American contributions to the larger story is really doing nothing but celebrating the vivacious nature of what America is. You know, it doesn't take away from the accomplishments and the additions and the contributions of other people. It just, to me, acknowledges a very important contribution to the American hemisphere and the Western world that cannot be denied and possibly could not have been duplicated without us being here. So it is a powerful month for me. But it also reminds me that there's so much work that can be done, right? Racism, discrimination, prejudice, disadvantage, unequal treatment, inequality, all that stuff still exists today. And sure, we don't have some of the same experiences that they had, say, in the 1920s or the 1820s as African Americans. Nevertheless, we are still fighting for equality. We're still fighting to be recognized as important, and we're still fighting for our lives to matter. That's why the whole Black Lives Matter movement began. It began as a way of saying, hey, excuse us, we matter too. It's time for you to see us as you see yourselves. See us equally. It didn't disacknowledge anybody else's experience. It's just saying us too. We too want to feel the benefits of being free and not living based on our race. Our race is a thing of pride for us, and we want everyone else in the world to gather that and to get that sense of pride. And yes, there are things that we can work on within our community. Of course, every single community on the planet, even if it's a sub-community within the community, have things that they can work on to better the experience of the overall community. We do understand that. But at the end of the day, that does not deny, diminish, get rid of any of the powerful things that we have been able to create amidst everything we have gone through. It's also, for me, a spiritual thing, right? When I sit in silence and I am either in meditation or I am either in deep prayer, I am contemplating not just my connection with the higher power, with God, with spirit. I'm also thinking about those ancestors like my mom and others who have gone on. And I contemplate, how would they respond? What would they give to this contemplation, to this sacred moment that's going to help me carry into my life and use to benefit my life? So for me, it's also spiritual. It's sacred to remember those who came before you, those who laid the foundations and somewhat built up the walls to give you the protection and the platform to do what you do. So I have to be cognizant of all of those who came before me, those who gave their lives, or those who lived their full lives but who are now in the afterlife, or those who are now in the realm of spirit but still present with me and guiding me through. That's Black history. Knowing those people, knowing those memories, knowing those histories also empowers me to move forward and to be the best me that I can be even today. So the history, it totally reflects in my present, and I am blessed to have it. So Black history is a powerful month for me. It's more than just facts and dates and important people, and we get a lot of the same ones like the Martin Luther Kings, the Rosa Parks, we get the Malcolm X's, we get a lot of the familiar faces, but there were numerous of people who contributed in the African American story, or in the global Black story, the global African diasporic story, that are super important. And so my recommendation to those of you who have sat with me and hear me in this conversation, get books. Read The Voices, The Soul of Black Folks. Connect it to Cornel West's Race Matters. Connect it to Ibrahim Kendi and his being anti-black. There's concurrent lines through all of those. You can go back and you can connect the dots and understand not just the story of the people you're reading about, but about your place in that larger story. Even non-black people have a place in the Black history story. And so it's important to understand it's not about separating and dividing us amongst colors in our own history. It's about adding just a touch of color to a picture already painted, a pop of color. And if it had not been for African Americans, that painting that had already been painted would not look the way it looked. We add color, we add flavor, we add pizzazz, we add style, we add flair, we add rhythm, we add melanin, we add soul, we add spirit, we add divinity, we add power, we add love. And so Black History Month is about love. Love of self, love of community, love of humanity. It teaches the lessons of growth. It teaches the lessons that we still have to overcome. It teaches the lessons of where we've been, and it strengthens who we are today. So I live for Black history. I love for Black History Month. I endorse Black history. I teach Black history. I study Black history. I'm constantly learning, constantly studying, constantly reminding myself that my ancestors were more before slaves, but even those who went through the slave experience created something that gives me the ability to be who I am today. And for that, I am thankful. I am thankful for the ancestors that I do not know. I am thankful for those that I've known that's gone on. I'm thankful for positive role models today like Oprah, Tyler Perry, Rihanna, just Beyonce, just so many people who, Steph Curry. I can even think of Ciara and Russell Wilson. I think their relationship is a good model. Will and Jada. I mean, we're learning from so many people. President Obama and Michelle. We have present Black history and Black history makers that are influencing us now and that will influence the past, influence the future by telling their stories of the past. And so it's a continual story that is continually being written, and I'm thankful to be a part of it, and I look forward to being a bigger part of it, and I'm blessed to know it. I'm thankful for those who took the somehow in all their chaos, the awareness to teach me Black history as a child, my uncles and father and grandfather, and the women who kept my story together and gave it to me, as in my mom and my aunties and my grandmother. And I'm just thankful. So Black history is my month. It's our month, but it's the world's month. And we share it with you so that you can see that there is nothing that is impossible without faith, good people, and the desire to do it. That's it. I'm done. I had to get on here and talk about my love of Black history because it's Black History Month. I could go down a list of different people. I can pop people on the screen. It's a fantastic month, and I highly recommend. A good book to kind of start if you want to gauge. It's the book I used in my class. Is Franklin, John Hope Franklin and Evelyn Higginbotham's From Slavery to Freedom. It's a big book. It's in 2 volumes if you want it, or you can get the complete volume. That's a good starting place to start to learn about Black history. There's also, if you want to, and I'm still finishing up the second course, but I have the U.S. History in Black. You can go out to Udemy, the website, Udemy, and you can actually take that course and get me, Dr. Larry, teaching Black history. So you can go out there. I'm actually finishing up the second half of the modern Black history, U.S. history in Black course. And that'll be out there soon too. But if you want to know early Black history, early U.S. African American history, out there on Udemy, go ahead and get it. It's affordable, it's nice, and you're going to get a good entryway into leading you into the study of African American history. As I always say, I love all of you all with the highest love that a human could possibly have for another. And I will see you in the next video.